What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Aggie Nation Podcast. I'm Alex Miller with the Eagle, joined always by Travis Brown. We're not always dressed like this. We went to a Board of Regents meeting today, so...
we're fancy boys.
We're fancy. Travis had to renew his membership over there, and I had to write about A&M pulling out of its agreement with Qatar. So
the exclusive club that
here
is
we
the
are.
Board of Regents meeting.
Here we are. So we're talking about A&M football and basketball, though. We're specifically talking about recruiting and National Signing Day, which, look, for A&M... there was one big prize left. That was Terry Bussey, Mr. Texas football, and the Aggies went and got him. Travis, you went out to Timpson. It seemed pretty low key and pretty straightforward from what I could tell.
Yeah, for it being like the biggest player left to sign in the class of 2024, if you look at most of the sites where he's ranked and just the attention, I mean, normally those things get streamed on sometimes Sports Center, sometimes, CBS Sports HQ or whatever streaming, and there'll be a lot of fanfare. He wanted it to be a small deal. They didn't pull all the kids out of class, even though it's like a school of what?
It's a 2A school. Yeah. 2A school.
And so, ultimately, he stuck with his commitment. The backstory there, of course, is he committed to A&M in September of 2023 with Jimbo Fisher's staff and everything. And his explanation to why he didn't sign in the early signing period was the fact that he wanted some more time to get to know Mike Elko and his staff and kind of see how the staff developed, because, there was portions of that staff that didn't come together until well after the early signing period. He never decommitted, which is interesting. Most of the time when you talk about recruits who kind of delay their signing, a lot of times that a decommitment comes in there to be able to open up their recruiting. But in essence, with the new early signing period and how many kids usually sign up in that early signing period, if you don't sign in the early signing period, a lot of times that it kind of serves as a de facto decommitment, because he did entertain conversations with LSU and with Georgia, really the finalists there.
And LSU was pushing hard.
And LSU was pushing hard. There was reporters there from Louisiana TV stations that were interested in what he had to say. But he ultimately had the A&M polo under his tracksuit that he revealed when it came time to ultimately sign. He did sign his intent. He said he didn't let Elko know before what he was going to pick. That they found out when he signed. So that was a little bit interesting. But from everything we talked to his guardian, who's also the principal there at Timpson, and talked to him, and from every indication that I've gotten, he's a really good kid. He's a quiet kid.
Seems pretty smart too.
Pretty smart. He wants to do engineering, and that that low key is kind of his default. That he is doesn't like a lot of fanfare, doesn't like a lot of the attention, just likes to go out and kind of do his thing. And by all indications, that's exactly how this decision and his ultimate signing and decision went.
I think this was a big win for A&M on the recruiting trail. I mean, he's the highest ranked player in A&M's class. There's been some people that have wondered, how high a level can Mike Elko recruit, and finishing the deal on a kid that he said during his press conference yesterday, he didn't even meet him until he got to A&M because he had left before Bussey really came through at that cycle. And, with LSU breathing down A&M's neck, not to mention LSU had nabbed like at least 4 A&M commitments that decommitted or flipped after Jimbo Fisher got fired. I mean, that was a big one to hold on to for A&M. Not to mention, if you watched the state championship game, the caliber of player Terry Bussey can be. But I did think it was interesting. Mike Elko noted, like, hey, he made it a point to say, look, Terry's a talented kid, but he's not going to put all this pressure on him coming in. I mean, look, 2A football, a little different than the SEC, but I mean, the skill set is there for him to possibly turn into a very talented football player for the Aggies in the next couple years.
And that goes back a little bit into that chill kind of, not into a whole lot of the fanfare kind of personality that he has. And Mike Elko said that he would that he told Bussy he was going to do this, that he would do it for him to kind of take the little bit of the pressure off of him. But if everything goes to plan, how they're planning on using him, and if everything goes to plan with the kind of talent that he has, he's going to be a player that is unlike A&M has seen in a while. He's going to not be like a Travis Hunter two-way where it's every snap of the game, both sides, but he's going to be a two-way player for the Aggies.
He's probably somewhere between how A&M used Anias Smith and where Travis Hunter is.
Right, but they never used Anias Smith on the defensive side of the
that's
ball.
why I'm saying he's somewhere in between.
Right. And so he's primarily, Mike Elko said, going to be looked at as a cornerback, but he has the ability, he will probably be Anias Smith's replacement on punt return and or kick return, depending on where they can best use him there. And then they're going to have some wrinkles on offense, that some plays, some schemes that gets the ball in his hands on the offensive side of the ball. He played quarterback at Timpson, threw for over 700 yards in his career, ran for over 600 yards, had over 140 touchdowns combined for that, broke the state record on any classification for passing touchdown in a state title game, and then broke the two-way record for rushing touchdown in a two-way title game.
Yeah, he had he had over a 95-yard touchdown pass and an over a 95-yard touchdown run.
It was 97, I believe, on the touchdown pass and 93 on the touchdown run.
Yeah.
So he was an Under Armour All-American, played in the Polynesian Bowl. He has the stats to be the real deal, and to be something that A&M hasn't seen in a long time because of his ability to be on both sides of the ball. Seems like a good kid. Like we said, engineering, wants to do engineering. So a smart kid. It's something that him and Anias Smith had in common. I don't think Anias ever actually went into the engineering program. He decided something else when he got here. But when they were looking at schools, it was between Duke and A&M, and he ended up picking A&M because he at that time thought he wanted to get into engineering. So some similarities there. Pretty soft spoken. Doesn't have a lot to say. Here's the other fun fact, and a little bit into his background. There was a lot of chatter with around the state title game about his background. He was raised by a single mother. She died when he was a freshman. The principal, Jared Campbell, there at Timpson, and his family, took him in, and he became his legal guardian, or is his guardian in that sense. And so the principal was involved with his recruitment, going on his visits. Very, very, very similar story to Nick Scorton, who transferred into A&M, was here at Bryan High School, transferred in from Purdue, had some family issues, and the Boobins, Lane Boobin, the principal over there, their family kind of took him in and supported him in that. The crazy part about it is they're distant relatives, Scorton and Bussy. They are cousins that they can't quite work out, but they know that they're cousins and know of each other. And so to have not only be related, but have that kind of a similar story like that is pretty interesting. And and Bussy said he's going to be pretty excited to play with me. He laughed and said, "Yeah, we're cousins. We don't look like each other because Scorton's like
he's huge,
6'5". Almost 300 pounds.
Listed at 6'4", 280.
280. And Bussy's 5'11" and 190. So he's, we don't look a lot alike, but we're cousins, and he's excited to get to play with him.
Well, there you go. Hey, A&M signed 2 other guys yesterday. I guess it was yesterday. Today's Thursday.
What is time anymore?
Yeah, what is time? Ashton Bethel Roman, of course, from Ridge Point High School in Missouri City. He had signed with Arkansas back in December, but was let out of his letter of intent. A&M came back around and got him to sign. So
I think Baylor was involved in that one a little bit as well.
Yeah, that's not surprising. And then Robert Borden, I think is
Robert Borden is our opinions editor.
There you go. Robert Borden. I think that's how Elko pronounced it. From Collierville, Tennessee. I looked that up. I think it's in the Memphis area. And he's an offensive tackle, big guy, 6'6", 305. he had been committed to Duke, and then when Elko came to A&M, he decided to decommit, didn't sign in December, came and visited A&M, committed, and then inked with the Aggies yesterday. So, look, pretty straightforward signing day yesterday, but A&M kind of addressing some needs across the board. A&M, I think, is in a much better place numbers-wise and depth-wise going into spring practice than they were last year. They're actually over the scholarship count right now. And, I mean, you look at where A&M went through with the portal and some of their early signees, I mean, really hit defensive back hard, both at corner and safety. We knew that was an area A&M was probably going to try and bolster, and they kind of took and pieced together guys from all over the place. And so spring practice will be fun, seeing how competitions shake out and who's going to be stepping up.
Yeah, we've seen this in sports like baseball, and particularly is the one that I see, where you might carry more than the roster limit that you have into like fall ball to try to work some guys out, and then ultimately kind of make some cuts and do that. Now with the spring/summer transfer window, I think coaches are getting a little bit smarter on how they do this and understand that there's going to be, no matter who you are, there's going to be a little bit of attrition in that spring-summer window. You might have a few guys who got beat out in spring-summer look for a new home for the fall, and that way you will still have right on the close to the numbers that you want to have to make up for some guys leaving that don't get the spots they want in the spring. So interesting they do that. We'll be curious to see if they do this in the future, because he said Elko said they were more transfer heavy this year than they probably plan on ever being in the future, because of how many people they lost with the coaching change and all of that stuff. So we'll be interested to see if that's a method that they use moving forward of bringing in, or whether it be through high school recruiting or the transfer portal, a few extra guys to make up for maybe a little bit of attrition that happens in that spring summer, because for the most part, you're not necessarily, the spring summer portal window now is not probably going to be as talent rich as the winter portal is in the future. This is going to be the depth portal position. So
yeah, you go through spring ball, man, we need a linebacker. Go and get a guy you think might be able to come in and provide some depth, kind of deal, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's uncanny, and I know you and some other people are going to roll your eyes. It's uncanny how much college football has settled in to feeling a lot like international club soccer. You have two transfer windows. They're literally called transfer windows. There's just a lot of parallels in that. For anybody who is a club soccer fan, the winter window is going to be a lot more like the summer transfer window, and the summer transfer window in football is going to be a lot more like the winter transfer window in soccer. So just interested to see how that all plays out.
Fair enough. Well, hey, we also got to hear from Mike Elko yesterday for the first time in quite a while, honestly. Was there anything that he said, maybe aside from signing day and where the roster stands, that really stuck out to you?
He punted on a few questions, which was interesting. I was curious to see kind of his thoughts on when he knew about Ross Bjork was going to leave. I mean, Ross Bjork kind of issued an apology of sorts to him when his kind of introductory press conference up at Ohio State, when he knew about that and what he would like to see in an AD, because as he joked, doesn't matter what I do right now, I don't have a boss. But he didn't really want to get into any of that. He did address the fact that they have more scholarship players right now than probably they will in the fall, and kind of letting that play out, and that you just don't realize how hectic these few months of the year are, especially for a coaching staff just coming in with maintaining your and re-recruiting your own roster, to recruiting the transfer portal, to putting together a staff, to putting together the final touches on the 2024 recruiting class. And the fact that he was asked about what is he looking for and hoping for the fans for the spring game, and he's like, I don't know, man. Like, as long as we have fans in the stands for Notre Dame in the fall, I haven't even gotten to think about that. And of course, saying all this in a really cordial, jovial way. But the fact there's a lot going on in that program, and they are finally getting around to kind of getting to think about the roster that they have, what spring ball is going to kind of look like and feel like, what that spring game is going to look like and feel like, and getting into summer workouts and everything. Their roster is in place for the most part, and they can start to think about those things in the future. So that's kind of what stuck out to me the most. I don't know what, I will also admit I'd been up for working for a long time, going out to Timpson, and didn't get a whole lot of sleep the night before in trying to get out there. And so I was a little bit of a zombie at that point, that press conference. What stood out to you in that?
Yeah, I think it just is very evident that they have put in so much time just being out and trying to get the roster where they want it, whether that be getting guys through the portal, trying to finish up on 2024 class. He said they were behind in the 2025 class. I know they just had a big junior day here recently, but he kind of made it seem like this next week is really when he's going to start being around the building on a more consistent day-to-day basis. Basically made it sound like Tommy Moffitt and his crew have kind of been running the show on a day-to-day basis while some of these coaches are out going and trying to get these guys to fill out a roster. And, he had a lot of praise for Moffitt and his crew, kind of a hodgepodge guys that, hadn't really worked together before, but it sounds like maybe starting to get some cohesion together that has been well received around the program.
Yeah, I talked to Tommy Moffitt before the bowl game,
right?
And before he kind of really took grasp of his program and the program, and it's kind of an interesting, and it makes sense why he would kind of be running things. Because that's kind of the nature of what's going on right now is strength and off-season workouts. But B, since he has been kind of away from football for 2 years, he's had 2 years to kind of reformulate and think about where they are as where he is as kind of a leader of a strength and conditioning program. And so while Mike Elko and them are trying to piece together the roster, the coaching staff, who's going to work in what roles and stuff, in his little world, he's had 2 years to kind of put together and hit the ground running on some of this stuff. So it makes sense that he would be, I don't want to say the most prepared, because they're all prepared, but had the most time to kind of think through where he wants to be and what he wants to be doing with his strength program and how that relates on to the bigger program as well.
Well, yeah, and someone who's been out of it, maybe a little refreshed, recharged, you can kind of have that burst of energy, while some of these guys who are just trying to scramble around and get things in order are doing stuff kind of behind the scenes. On the ground, you have someone that is eager to get out there and get going right then and there in Bright.
And to my point as well, and dovetailing off of that, it's not like he's just been sitting around hunting and fishing. I mean, he went into a deep dive into learning about other programs, talking to high school coaches, talking to other college coaches. He kind of traveled the country. He started a podcast and interviewed a lot of people. And he said it wasn't necessarily that he needed to add on to what he already knew or revamp his program, but it was kind of that, sharpening a knife kind of thing, that he realized, okay, most of the parts of my program that I like still work, are still industry standard, are still used by a lot of coaches. There's some technological advances that he's learned about and are adding into the program, but it kind of sharpened his resolve that the way he does things is mostly right, and kind of got him back into kind of a checks and balances on his program that he hasn't had and been able to do because of the grind. So he has been grinding. It's just looked a little different than the grind of being an in-season football strength and conditioning coach.
Well, hey, let's take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side and talk a little A&M men's hoops. The Aggies trying to work their way off the bubble as we head into February.